Hey guys, and welcome to a 2v2 showdown with the unlikely alliance between the Wood Elf forces and the Dawi here, up against double Warriors of Chaos. We are going to be on Dock Karaz, so it looks like the Wood Elves have ridden to the aid of their Dwarven allies here. Should be a fun matchup, so we'll very quickly go through the builds, as there's obviously quite a lot to get through. On this left-hand side we have a nice skirmish core built up of Glade Riders of Hagbane Tips, as well as Sisters of Thorn and Wild Hunters of Kurnos to protect them a little bit. The main portion of my build is relatively simple, a bucket ton of Eternal Guards with their little spears to protect the mighty Papa Durfu. Now he's going to be coming in with his Branch Wraith Brethren here. He himself is going to be coming in with Flock of Doom and the Manticore Summon, as course as bringing Sword of Dave, very, very powerful, minus 30 armor and does big damage as well as in an area of effect. And we have a little Branch Wraith down here with Scroll of Shielding, obviously to help protect Durfu, Wither for the minus armor, and Earthblood as well. Our elite troops are in the back lines. Looks like we have the Wardens of Sifrol here, which are the Regiment of Renowned Wildwood Rangers, lovely anti-large and armor sundering, and they're alongside the Loix Tricksters, one of the most badass looking units in the game, and have some of the coolest attack animations. They are relatively squishy, but can certainly get in there and help support Durfu if he gets pinned down by many a large monster. For the Dwarven forces, it's also pretty nice and simple. A bucket ton of Longbeards to hold the lines, and then a load of Thunderers in a secondary formation. We also have double cannons protected by double Slayers. A really interesting hero combination as well. We have Ungrim Iron Fist, the man, the myth, the legend himself, bringing all of his buffs. So he's going all out here, trying to make Crack Kadran as proud as possible. And Felix, who's there to help heal him up and keep him alive. So for the force of our opponent here, on the right-hand side, we have some lovely skirmish with Marauder Horsemen, protected by some Warhounds, and we have some Knights as well on the left-hand flank and the right-hand side, so it's just some basic Chaos Knights. In the main battle line, we have a mixture of Chaos Marauders to try and add a bit of width to the build, as well as some more bad to the bones great weapon units, Chaos Warriors dotted all the way along, as well as Chosen, so it looks like we actually have... Is that double? No, triple Chosen too with great weapons, so pretty hardcore there, as well as some Forsaken. We have a Hell Cannon, which unfortunately has been absolutely destroyed already by the accurate fire of the Dwarven Artillery, which is really useful because we have some expensive units I do not want to get sniped out. Then we have a lot of kind of monster blob here. We have Sufrael the Ever Watcher, of course, Plague of Rust, Final Transmutation combo, Dragon Ogre Shagoth, Gore Beast Chariot. We have a Chaos Source Lord of Fire up in the skies with Burning Head, Flamestorm, as well as, what's it called? Piercing Bolts of Burning, there we go. And an Exalted Hero up on top of a Manticore. So I've heard you guys, let's get this battle underway. So that's just a very quick rundown of the builds. Of course, there's a lot to kind of go through. I don't want to spend too much time on it. And the Hell Cannon here hasn't really managed to make any impact so far, and it's taken an absolute beating as more cannon strikes do come in. The accurate Dwarven Artillery, as I say that, misses all its shots, but so far has done pretty good. Now on the right hand side we do take an early engagement up against the Chaos Knights, dropping a Curse on them and Shield of Thorns to help the Wild Hunters of Kurnos really drag through them, though despite all these buffs and debuffs, we've actually taken a surprising amount of damage there. We've also willed around two of our Glade Riders to help force off the Skirmish Corps, as the Dwarfs, a little bit too slow unfortunately, as they are on stumpy little legs, are desperately trying to catch the Chaos Warhounds, so instead we're going to dart in with the Glade Riders to punish them and force them off. And Glade Riders have pretty decent melee stats all round. As you can see, yeah, we've annihilated the Chaos Warhounds pretty nicely. We can now focus down on the Marauders, which is a really nice target in here. Going after the Naked Slayers is always a good idea. Bit of a Final Transmutation go down on this side as well, but despite that, looks like we are about to break the Chaos Knights before falling back to safer tides. The Dwarven forces have moved forward slightly here. Looks like they're going to be taking the brunt of the damage initially, and the Wood Elves will be used here to wheel around and help support where possible. In the back lines, more of the Horsemen pretty much going to be forced off here. They're getting some okay damage on those Slayers, but yeah, Thunderers have turned to engage as well, and they are starting to struggle. But a Dragon Ogre Shagoth goes for the Leroy Jenkins approach, forces his way through that gap, and just starts wailing on these Thunderers. Going to be getting some lovely damage there. More these Thunderers need to turn and start to pin him in where possible. But looks like Slayers are here to respond, and they'll do a fantastic job dragging him down. Big Flamestorm has gone down in the back lines, but it's a pretty kind of unpredictable weapon, I would say. And it's kind of floating around, not doing too much. Durfu has pushed forward now. There's a big old clump of Forsaken, Chaos Marauders, and looks like Chosen coming in as well. And this is the kind of fight Durfu absolutely adores. And it looks like we're popping at the Sword of Dave down here. And if I seem to remember correctly, we are also going to be popping an Overcasted Flock of Doom, getting insane value and really holding that centre pocket with the mighty Durfu. On this left-hand flank, we have been hit by a final transmutation, but we are managing to finish off the majority of the mobility from the Chaos Forces here. We do have a Overcast Earthblood going down, and looks like we're managing to deal with the Chaos Knights. Wither popped on them, should allow all these spears to slowly drag them down. Now, in the distance here, we do have the Wardens of Sifril, clearly in a deep reserve, completely not forgotten about so far, as the Burning Head does try to overrun the cannon formation, but Dwarfs have pretty good resistance, so they're not going to mind too much about that. As Lurk's Tricksters are darting into the front lines with the Eternal Guard, trying to pin in that Exalted Hero, who's going after their beloved Durfu here, who's just been an absolute powerhouse. Look at all the units he's forced off, being an absolute beast, up to 66 kills already. Over on the Dwarven flank, we do have another Flamestorm coming down, and they can deal pretty decent damage to the Slayers all round, but it looks like Thunderers are starting to put a pretty big hammering down on top of the Dragon Ogre, who's trying to get to grips with Felix, but with all his buffs popped, as well as all of Ungrim's buffs popped, this Dragon Ogre is not having a good time of it at all. This Dragon Lord really needs to get involved in the battle a bit more, kind of darting around, breaking up Longbeard formations, and allowing the rest of his units to push through and help support, because otherwise he's just going to be a kind of target up in the skies, as the Thunderers do unleash hell. A really lovely breath attack though coming down, roasting some of the Tricksters as well as Slayers alike. So for those still having a good time, pretty much at full health as well. Now over on this left-hand flank, it looks like for the most part we did manage to clear up the Knights, although some of them have returned to the fray. Mixture of Eternal Guard, Branch Wraith and Sisters though are slowly starting to put down these Chaos Warriors and trying to pin in the Everwatcher wherever he can, but he's a real tricky customer, floating around back and forth. In the background here, Glade Riders are going to be used to chase off the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Certainly don't want that thing to return, so chasing off the edge of the battlefield is a pretty good idea all round. The second unit of Glade Riders has pushed up to put consistent damage on that Exalted Hero and trying to drive it back and break it. Centre pocket has been relatively secured here. You can see both units of Thunderers are still firing, as well as both cannons, which is always good news for the Dwarves here. Although Gorby's chariots are going to be coming in to say hello, Ungrim's around with his mighty axe, and he'll be more than happy to say hello to the Gorby's chariots and drag down those mighty fiends. The legacy of Ungrim shall not be ended by some random Gorbeast from the north. Durfu doing pretty good here as well. Once again, he's just been an absolute powerhouse and anchor in that centre pocket, terrifying away enemy troops. Looks like he's even going to be coming in with a Manticore summon as well. So that's the first Manticore summon. We still have another one in the back pocket if we need it late game. And it looks like the Chaos Sorcerer Lord is noping out of here. Certainly doesn't want to duel a Manticore with how low health he currently is. So we've dropped a Sword of Dave, and that Manticore is going to come in to help feast on the slightly more squishy Chosen now, but that armor has been pushed back. Chaos Knights finally being dragged down here. Gorby's chariots though being used rather effectively, bouncing between combats, now hunting down Thunderers. It looks like we're going to see another final transmutation coming down as well. That's some really good play with the big bird so far, although I think an overcast final transmutation here and there might have been more worth it than kind of the consistent smaller ones, as it just does so much more damage. Glade Riders were used there to pin in the Everwatcher to try and allow Ungrim to duel the mighty beast before falling back. Manticore has come over to support as well, and it looks like armor losses has set in, so it is just the Everwatcher versus Ungrim here in glorious hand-to-hand combat. With help in hand popped, Ungrim is an absolute animal with over up to 110 melee attack. Every hit is going to connect, and the Everwatcher is going down rather bravely then. That is going to be a Pyrrhic victory there for the alliance of Dwarfs and Elves. An unlikely alliance indeed. Very well played to both my opponents there, Sonath and Bing Giggity Bong, and of course my ally Logic. And this whole thing was streamed over on his channel as well. I don't think you can hear my voice on there. I think it's just kind of his point of view, but that is Logic_EU. So if you want to see more 2v2 action, feel free to go check it out over there. Anyway, with some really good fun stuff. Unfortunate pick coming in, I think, with the Hell Cannon. Couldn't really do too much work because it did just get annihilated by the Dwarfs. And that is a problem with the Hell Cannon. Dwarven artillery is just much more cost effective when trading against it. But at the same time, I don't hate it here. It can be a pretty clutch pick, especially if there is no cannons or if you can force them off quick enough. But yeah, pretty good stuff. As for Sonath, really lovely play with the Everwatcher, and those Knights did better than expected up against the anti-large Wild Riders, but I suppose I may be stuck in combat a little bit too much there. And the Chosen as well, quite a nice pick, cutting their way through, good micro with the Gore Beast chariots. As for my own forces, it did pretty decent. It kind of is a relatively standard build. You try to assassinate any large threats coming in with the Loix Tricksters and Wardens of Saphrael, and then you use the Glade Riders to counter skirmish the enemy to force off Marauder Throne Axes and the like, and then you just allow Durfu to have a jolly good time, cutting through the enemy up to 171 kills, completely broke the central pocket of the Chaos forces and helped keep those Thunderers and Cannons online for a little while longer while they did some good consistent damage. Gotta love the Ungrim pick with the Slayers here, going very thematic there by logic, and Ungrim certainly can pack a punch in the right instance, got on top of some key targets, but good play as well, keeping his Thunderers and Cannons online for the majority of the battle. So anyway guys, I hope you did enjoy this 2v2 action. If you did, feel free to give it a big old thumbs up and comment down below, and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. If you want to get involved in the channel in any way as far as sending in replays and taking part in events, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link in the description down below, as other ways you can support the channel via kind of Patreon and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.